Hey guys, Jim here with another video for you. This is 50 Years in Film, 1985. But before we begin, if you like this video, if you like this channel, if you like the content, please leave a thumbs up and a possible subscribe. And most importantly, please leave comments below. I would really love to hear from you. Before we get into this, the usual caveats: I do not own every movie from 1985. Lots of movies will not be on this list. This is simply the films that I own on Blu-ray from that particular year. And one more thing before we begin, I screwed up again. From 1983, I missed a movie. I'm going to throw it in here right now, real quickly. Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. I cannot believe I forgot this, but I did. So, 1983, The Evil Dead. Okay, now we're going to go back to what we normally do. We're going to jump around in genre. We're going to start off with the comedies. Starting off with the biggest comedy of that year and the biggest film of that year. Back to the Future. There's the original one sheet. Directed by Robert Zemeckis. Starring Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. Everybody knows Back to the Future. Everybody loves Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future. I'm not a big fan of the sequels, but I absolutely adore the original. What a great way to start 1985. Now, in 1985, you're going to notice some trends, because this is what I always call the copycat year in movies. Because the first trend you'll see is there was a lot of comedies having to do with science. If you want to include Back to the Future, there's 4 of them, but we're going to start off with Weird Science. This is my Arrow Blu-ray. That's the one sheet. John Hughes classic with Anthony Michael Hall and Kelly LeBrock. I absolutely love Weird Science. But then literally the next week, Real Genius. This is my 4K combo Blu-ray. Real Genius with Val Kilmer. Directed by Martha Coolidge. Great movie. Absolute great movie. Very under the radar. I will probably have this one on my underrated film soon. Excellent movie. But the same day as Real Genius, My Science Project. Like I said, it was a copycat summer. This is a fun movie. It's not great, but it's fun. Continuing with the comedies, we have Brewster's Millions, starring Richard Pryor and John Candy, and directed by Walter Hill. Not my favorite Walter Hill movie. Not my favorite John Candy or Richard Pryor movie, for that matter. But it is a fun movie. And we have a couple of high school comedies. Without a doubt, the best one from 1985. And one of the most seminal movies of the 80s, John Hughes' The Breakfast Club. I graduated from high school in 1985. The girl I was dating in high school, we went on our very first date to see this movie. And what struck me about this movie, and continues to, is out of all the 80s teenage sex comedies and teenage high school comedies that came out, only 2 accurately represented what high school life was like in that time. The Breakfast Club and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Both of them are classics, but I prefer The Breakfast Club for that reason. I was a senior in high school. I related to every one of these characters. And then lower down the list than Breakfast Club, but still a fun movie, Secret Admirer, with C. Thomas Howell, Kelly Preston, Lori Loughlin, Fred Ward, Dee Wallace. Great cast in this movie, actually. And for a teenage sex comedy, where the plot is basically this kid trying to get laid, this is actually a very sweet movie. And it's better than most of them in that genre from this time period. So if you've never seen Secret Admirer, give it a shot. It's not a great movie, but it's a very well-made movie. the last comedy on the list, Once Bitten. As far as I know, this was the big screen debut for Jim Carrey. I'm not really sure. To be honest, I don't like this movie. I never have. It's really dumb. I know a lot of people do love this movie, but it's not my cup of tea. Next, we have a couple of fantasy movies directed at the younger audiences. Joe Dante's directed Explorers, starring River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke. This is like a science fiction adventure movie, but like I said, it's generally for kids. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. I would love to see the version that Joe Dante originally wanted to do, because apparently there was lots of studio interference with this movie. But it's a fine movie. And then, of course, we have The Goonies, directed by Richard Donner. At the time, Corey Feldman was the big actor out of that group, but now definitely Josh Brolin, Sean Astin, and Ke Huy Quan, who just won an Oscar last year. Goonies is fun. I don't like it as much as I did when I was younger, but it's fun. Okay, next we've got the action and dramas coming. We're going to start off with Bond. And in 1985, it was A View to a Kill, co-starring Christopher Walken, Tanya Roberts, and Grace Jones, in addition to Roger Moore. There they are right there. Quite frankly, this is one of the worst James Bond movies ever. It's got a great theme song from Duran Duran, and it's got a fun performance from Grace Jones. But other than that, this it's a mess. And as much as I love Roger Moore, he looked like he was about 158 making this movie. So it was definitely time for him for the mantle to be passed. And it was. We'll get to that one in a couple of years. Sorry. Okay, continuing. One of my favorite movies from the 80s, and probably my favorite William Friedkin movie of all time. This or Sorcerer, but To Live and Die in L.A. This movie's amazing. This is my Shout Select Blu-ray. This is way out of print, but Kino has recently released a 4K and a Blu-ray of this movie. If you've never seen To Live and Die in L.A., please do. It's incredible. Very, very, very underrated movie. It's awesome. Continuing in with the dramas, we have John Borman's The Emerald Forest. I covered this one on a 5 Forgotten Films to Check Out episode. It stars the great Powers Booth. It's based on a true story. Because I went into this plot on that video, I won't go into it any further other than to state this is a great movie. Check it out. Also from Kino, in another movie that I recently, just in the last installment of Underrated Films to Check Out, I covered this, Runaway Train, starring John Voight, Eric Roberts, Rebecca De Mornay, and John P. Ryan. This movie's awesome. It is so damn good. It's a prison escape action drama. It's just so good. Check it out. Continuing with the dramas, we have Alamo Bay, starring Ed Harris and Amy Madigan, directed by Louis Malle. Again, not necessarily a war movie. This is more of a drama. You can read the synopsis there. It's a very good movie. Very good movie. Great performances across the board. Now we're moving into the action, and what a way to start. Silverado. Written and directed by Lawrence Kasdan. with an all-star cast. This is an incredible, awesome movie. This is one of my favorite Westerns of all time. Like I said, in 1985, there was a lot of repeating going on. This wasn't the only Western released that year. Clint Eastwood's Pale Rider was also released this summer. I have that movie as well, but I have it on DVD. But I absolutely love Silverado. It's just such a great movie. Okay, now we're moving into some more action, and we have 3 Chuck Norris movies coming up in a row. The first one, and definitely the least of them, is Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. This is a prequel to the original. This was actually supposed to be Missing in Action, the first movie. And test screenings were so bad on it that they kind of scrapped it and redid the entire movie, released that one. That movie became a hit. So then they just re-released the original as the sequel. Confused? It's canon. Get used to it. Not a good movie. However, Code of Silence, directed by Andrew Davis and co-starring Dennis Farina, is a good movie. It's a very good movie. I would go so far as to say it is Chuck Norris's best movie as far as story, performances. It's probably his best performance. He's still not all that good in it, but Code of Silence is a solid movie. But my favorite Chuck Norris movie came out that year, Invasion USA. Now we're back to canon, and oh my God, this movie's a cheese fest. It's ridiculous. Look at that mullet. This movie is so much fun. I absolutely love it. I've loved it from day one. My brother Greg and I went and saw this together, and at the end, when the guy gets blown out the window with the bazooka, we both stood up and cheered. This movie's so much fun. And another incredible action movie, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Again, I believe I covered this on either the first or second installment of my 5 forgotten movies to watch. I'll reiterate it. This movie's great. Kino has released this. This is a Twilight Time out of print Blu-ray, but Kino did re-release this movie. Seek this movie out. It is so much fun. Fred Ward is great as always. Wilford Brimley is great as always. But Joel Grey is amazing in this movie. Please watch Remo. It's a great movie. And then we've got Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, co-starring Tina Turner. The third in the Mad Max trilogy. Because to me, Fury Road is its own thing. This movie's fun. It's not great. I don't like it as much as the original Mad Max, or definitely not as much as The Road Warrior, but it's still a fun movie. And the last action movie, and again, I'm not breaking into it, I'm just going to show you the disc. Stallone, Rambo, First Blood, Part 2. This was the second biggest hit that year behind Back to the Future. It was a huge hit, and it's great. It is so entertaining, but it's a cartoon. The first movie is kind of a serious drama before it ventures into a little bit of unbelievability. This movie's a cartoon from the beginning, but it's a very entertaining cartoon. And yeah, First Blood Part 2 is great. Okay, now we're venturing into the horror, guys. We're going to start off with Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. This movie was it made a lot of money at the time. It's actually one of the more successful installments. But there was a big backlash. People were very upset. How dare they do a Jason movie where Jason's not in it? Jason died at the end of the last one. I mean, come on. It says, A New Beginning. What more did you expect? Yeah, the ending is kind of Scooby-Doo-ish. And this movie is sleazy compared to the other ones. There's a higher body count in this one. There's more nudity in this one. It's over the top in every way. But you know what? I still like Part 5 over about half of the sequels yet to come. So that's a new beginning. And we're back into the trends for horror. We had some zombie movies that year. George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. I absolutely love this movie. I was lucky enough to see it theatrically because it was released unrated. This was years before they came out with the NC-17. I turned 18 that weekend, and oh my God, I love Day of the Dead. And then, Return of the Living Dead. Written and directed by Dan O'Bannon. This movie's a lot of fun. It's a classic. It's awesome. This is out of print, but Scream Factory did re-release this in 4K. But yeah, Return of the Living Dead is just so much fun. And the last of those movies, but I think it's the best one out of the three. Reanimator. Directed by Stuart Gordon. This movie's crazy. It's one of the craziest movies, not only of the 80s, it's one of the craziest movies of all time. And I love absolutely every minute of it. Saw this one theatrically too. Same thing. And was released unrated at the time. Okay, next we have a psychological old-fashioned horror movie for you. The Doctor and the Devils. I covered this one on one of those installments of 5 Forgotten Films, and yeah, this is a great movie. Apparently based on a true case, and it's got a killer cast. And continuing that trend, here's another one that I included. Warning Sign. This is a biological horror movie. Again, killer cast. And this edition is going out of print from Scream Factory. And Scream Factory is actually having a Shocktober sale, right? Normally they have a sale in October called Shocktober, but in February they have Love is in the Scare. And they've got, right now, 80s movies, including this one, on sale. So go to their website and check it out. And no, I do not get paid from Scream Factory. I just thought I'd let you know. Now we got a couple of Stephen King movies for you. First we got Cat's Eye. It's an anthology movie starring Drew Barrymore, James Woods, Robert Hayes, among others. 2 of the 3 stories are based on short stories from the Night Shift collection. The 3rd story with Drew Barrymore and The Troll in the Wall was written specifically for the screen. Not a great movie, but I really do enjoy the first 2 stories. His other adaptation that year, I cannot speak sometimes, is Silver Bullet. This is a werewolf film starring Corey Haim, Everett McGill, and crazy Gary Busey. I'm sorry, I cannot just say Gary Busey. It's got to be crazy Gary Busey. But this movie's a lot of fun. It's not scary. It's actually kind of a dark comedy, but it's a lot of fun. Stephen King also wrote the screenplay for this one, as well as Cat's Eye. And then another kind of vampire movie, Life Force. This is my Scream Factory Steelbook. This is definitely an exploitation movie. I love it. I've always loved it. I will always love it. These guys are kind of like space vampires. But this vampire movie is the real deal. And I saved it for last. Fright Night, starring Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowall. This movie's outstanding in every way. It's probably my favorite vampire movie of all time. I am a huge Roddy McDowall fan. I always have been. As I said in one of my earlier videos, the very first movie I ever recall seeing theatrically was Battle for the Planet of the Apes when I was about 6 years old. Became a Roddy McDowall fan from that point. Fright Night, without a doubt, contains one of his best performances. He steals the movie. He is fantastic. The effects work is still second to none. And Fright Night's just fun. I know that they did a remake with Colin Farrell, and that movie's fine, but it doesn't hold a candle to the original, in my opinion. So that's it for 1985, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, again, please give me a thumbs up and a like, and we'll see you on the next one.